Hi, Tamily. We're starting our 13th Ask Tamily interview with Emily Hansen, who will be joining in just a second. I don't know why my phone keeps, focusing. Just ignore anything technology related during all of these interviews. So we're at 13 weeks of Ask Tamily interviews. It's fantastic, and we have enough people on our list for the rest of the year. But anyone that wants to volunteer, or if you want to nominate someone, please let me know, or let us know on the Ask Tamily Instagram. More people on the schedule. So Emily is joining. Okay. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Oh, wait, okay, I think it's connected.
I can hear you. And it's not echoing.
Okay. Oh, welcome to your Ask Tamily interview, Emily.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Me too. So, it's funny because I actually know Emily. So, Tamily, this is Emily Hansen. And, we've started these interviews because I find it so motivating to actually know more about our Tamily members. But then when I get to interview someone that I actually know, I get even more excited about it, which is crazy. So this should be a very fun interview. And as always, we have some questions prepared, but everybody can type in some live questions. We might not see them right when they're happening, but we'll scroll through at the end and make sure that we get all of them. So let's start with, where do you live and what do you do?
So I live in St. Pete, Florida, so I'm on the Gulf side, so not too far from you. I've only lived in Florida for about 5 years, and I have to say only since doing the Tracy Anderson method have I appreciated the humidity, because typically I just look like Don King. My hair will be really curly and really tall. So now I feel like, all right, there's at least one benefit to this crazy weather. So that's where I live, and then what I do, I work in the healthcare industry. I work for a large medical device company doing marketing and branding and communication strategy. But what I really love to do is develop leaders. So I work with people who are my peers, people who work in other kind of functions of the business, some of my bosses and their bosses and radiologists, but I try to help them kind of understand what they do really well and help them get more out of it. So I think a lot of professional cultures tends to be focused around fixing weaknesses, which I can't stand. I'm more of a focus on your strengths. Don't spend a lot of time trying to get towards average performance. Really, spend the time on what you're already good at, and you can really soar. So I get to do that. I get to do really fun things like coach radiologists on how to be more interesting and dynamic in presentations. But at the end of the day, I love it because I feel like communication, or the lack of it, is kind of at the heart of everything. And if people can't understand each other or get their points across, it's kind of like, what are we really doing? So it's been really fun. I love it. And I even bring it into the community through my local women's club, which is pretty fun.
Awesome. That's very fitting for this community as well.
Yeah.
What do you think the best piece of advice is that you've ever received?
So I've received a lot of good advice. Sometimes I'll take a little piece of it, or sometimes it won't resonate with me until much later in life. Like, time always goes faster the older you get. When I was young, I thought, whatever, come on. And now it's whizzing by. But I think what stands out the most for me is something that my dad told me when I was little, which is sometimes the fear doesn't go away and you just have to do it afraid. I think that's really helped a lot, because sometimes we have a misconception that everyone is totally confident in what the heck they're doing, or that they know what they're doing, but really most of us have no clue what's going on. We're just kind of fumbling through. So that's really given me more permission and more confidence to take risks, in my personal life, professional life. And sometimes you kind of learn as you go, and then you do get more confident. It's kind of that fake it till you make it. But I just say, don't let fear hold you back. Just try it, because even in the long run, whatever you're doing today or something that you have coming up, I try to think about, am I going to remember this in 5 years? And if not, then whatever. I'm not going to stress about it too much. So there's a lot of freedom in that.
That's great advice, and it's something that's relatable to, this kind of a fitness journey that we're on as well, and in being part of this Instagram community. And we started these interviews when we were doing like all of the newbies with Tam, and it just makes me think about how you can be like afraid to be out there, afraid to post, afraid to have a video, and we just see that evolution as you're part of this type of community. Like, just take the risk and do it. People are going to be supportive. You're going to grow. Like, even though it might feel weird and uncomfortable and, you might be a little afraid, it's worth it.
I totally agree. And I think the Tamily community is probably the only community online that I've ever even seen where everything is positive. Like, there's nobody doing any bashing or anything. If you're unsure, if you have a bad day, I feel like you can communicate that. And you're going to have, like, your sisters right next to you, like, hey, it's okay, it's fine, I've been there, we all been there. And I feel like it helps people move through a lot quicker, too, which is pretty happy.
It really is amazing because, internet communities are so often full of just like hatred. And this one, I don't know what the secret is, but no one's ever telling you like, you're doing that move wrong, or this is stupid, or like, you look fat in those leggings. Like, none of that just happens. Like, it's just so amazing that, you get this support. And especially the more like real that you are, and if you say that you're struggling with something, or you're uncomfortable with something, or even just like regular stuff in life, it's not even about the workout. You get this amazing support from all of these positive sisters.
There's a real beauty like in the authenticity, right? Of being vulnerable. And I love when people post like the mess ups. I try to post mine as often as I can, mainly because I love to laugh at myself, because if you can't do that, then like, what are you doing? But also, it helps you see your progress. So like, you can look back and think, oh yeah, I remember when I couldn't even like coordinate how to move two legs at the same time, and now I can kind of do that. So I do think the community is really genuine in that way, and really kind of inspired to help each other really lift up, which is just really cool.
Definitely. What is your personal exercise philosophy or approach?
So I feel like this has changed a lot through my life. I used to not really want to do any type of like formal exercise routine. I thought it was boring. And I grew up in Arizona where there's tons of mountains and hiking. So, I would be active all the time. I love to camp and go hike and swim. But going to the gym, for me, I would go into the gym and then I would just look around and be like, what am I supposed to do in here? It was more intimidating, and to me, it was like boring and cold. But my husband is the type of person that can go to the gym every day of his life. And he goes at night, and that's like his total routine. So for me, the best thing that you can do is whatever you actually like to do, because it's pretty life-changing when you find something that's fun. If you feel like you have to drag yourself to go do it, it's not great. I have tried to create more focus around what I do with the Tracy Anderson method, because I think what Tracy says is like, you don't want to try to learn a different language every day of the week. I used to love like, oh, I'm going to go to yoga on Monday and Pilates on Tuesday, and then I'll go to the gym on Wednesday and run and whatever. And even though I love the learning aspect of all those different things, it has helped me to create a bit more focus. And now I feel like I'm like cheating on the method if I go do something else. Or I'm like, oh, can I fit both in? So that's given me more clarity. And it's amazing how I haven't been doing the method all that long, but now I feel like more addicted to it. Like, I feel excited about going to do it, and the community helps. Like, I love, when the Tamily in Europe and stuff, they're always up obviously before me. So when they get the new content, I can like wake up in the morning and be like, okay, what do they think of that? And just get a little inspiration to get going before my morning workout.
So on that note, when, how, and why did you start the method?
Okay. So I feel like a bonehead because everyone talks about how they saw Tracy Anderson and the Metamorphosis program on QVC. I was like, what is QVC? So I didn't really know about the method until maybe a little over a year ago. There were a couple of like fashion bloggers that I followed, and one of them had posted a video on like, oh, my Tracy Anderson method transformation. And so I watched the video, and she had like a corresponding blog that like explained all of the acronyms, which of course now I throw around like second nature, but I'm like, what is Conti and all this stuff. So I thought it was really interesting. And so what I did is I ordered the Matt DVD on Amazon, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this. And at first, I'll be honest, I was not really expecting much out of it. I remember looking at the arms section and thinking, 3-pound weights? Are you serious? Like, I'm used to lifting like 15 or 20 pounds. And 1 minute into that, I was dying trying to hold my arms out to the side and move them around. So immediately I was hooked, mainly because I was like, oh, this is harder than I thought, and this is cool. So I started with that DVD. I wasn't really consistent. I didn't like do it in 30 days. I probably did 2 or 3 days a week. And then Tracy's really good. I think her team is like the police on YouTube. So there used to be like little pieces of that on YouTube, and I could take it when I would travel because computers now don't really have DVD slots. But they went down. So anyway, I had been doing a little bit more research, and I had seen a couple of Tamily, I guess, on Instagram, but I had no idea what it was. And I was like, these moves look way different from what I'm doing with the DVD. So I ended up deciding to buy the Metamorphosis program. I didn't know like which one to do, so I was like, I'm going to pick the glute one. And then luckily I am glute centric, so that worked out. And I did that. It probably took me about 4.5 months to complete it because I was still doing Pilates and still doing yoga. I just wasn't like fully bought in. And then one day I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take the plunge and just try it because everybody else's workouts, like you guys, there was more music and more movement and stuff than what I felt like I was seeing in the DVD. So I was like, maybe this will be more energizing. And as soon as I did that, I was hooked. And I think it was just because it combined like higher intensity throughout the whole workout. And having the music, but I remember my husband thinking I was a complete wacko because I'm like in the garage and he's like, it's 100 degrees outside, what are you doing? But I loved it. So now I've been streaming since the end of April. Which I don't know why I thought I was streaming since February, but I was not. So if I ever said that before, I was not. I don't know, maybe that was when I first heard about it. So yeah, it's been really, really fun, really good since I've been doing it.
So what kind of results have you experienced?
So if I was like better on my food, I think I would get more results. I would say most recently, and especially to your inspiration, I think about 6 weeks ago, I stepped up to try to do advanced. And it was like hard as shit because this was right when Tracy was like making the advanced ones really hard. But I will say in the past 6 weeks, I'm down like 8 pounds and 4 inches. Before that, I was feeling different. I was feeling more toned, but I don't feel like I was really losing weight. And that's not a huge goal for me. I can't even weigh myself every day. I have total respect for all of you women who weigh yourself every day. To me, it's like I'll either feel good or I'll immediately feel defeated if the scale is different. I'm like, I can't do that. But that's been good. But I think the biggest results have been in my mind. Like, it's given me more confidence to really think about the elements of performance and like just the short window that you get to like learn. So you have basically 7 opportunities to like learn, and then boom, you start right over with something new and you're kind of like a rookie again. At least for me, I'm like, I feel like I'll be a new person until people don't let me say that anymore. So I'll be like 5 years in still saying I'm the newbie because there's so much to learn. But it's just been great. I love it.
Well, and I feel like, especially with new people joining, and there's people that have done the method on here for 3 years, 8 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
It's still hard, like, every week. It's still new for us every week. Like, for me, sometimes I'm like, am I really supposed to be able to do this? And on the first day, I can't do it. But, you know, the second and the third, you like see that progress. But I think that's something that's, you know, unifying for all of us too. And I think it's important for the new people to know, like, you don't ever get to a point where like, oh, this advance is just so easy. Like, that's just not how the method is. It's always difficult. And that's the whole point of like never reaching a plateau and everything. You're going to keep learning and keep getting stronger and keep seeing, you know, the results, whether they're like physical or mental. And I think most of the time people start it because of the physical results, but it just turns into, you know, so much more than that.
I couldn't agree more. And I think the other thing to keep in mind too, right, is that each of us are different. So some things may feel easier to one person. Like if you're incredibly flexible, some moves you're gonna be like, oh, this is so easy. But then other things are gonna be, you know, more challenging. And so I would always recommend any new people coming in, especially, like keep that in mind too. If someone's like, wow, this class feels really easy this week. Like I had to laugh at myself. I think you commented back to me when I was like, I heard someone else say this one was going to be easy, and I was dying through it. You know, so I try to never have any assumptions. You know, and it's great. I love that people share their opinions about like this is good or not good or the music or whatever. But I try to just go in with like very neutral and just allow myself to do it. And sometimes I think, you know, you can kind of choose your attitude, which will change the outcome of how the workout is. Even if it's still hard, you might be like, yeah, it's hard, but I'm going to nail this in the next, you know, 6 days or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always surprising to see how your body does progress just in that short amount of time. Like, I mean, you really can think, like, there's no way I'm doing this one. And of course, there's moves that keep being hard for, you know, the entire week, just depending on where you're at. It's because it's strength, it's flexibility, it's balance. Like, I mean, I remember falling over in tons of moves in the beginning that now I'm like, oh, I can do a star plank and I can stay in it for a while. Like, you know, those things like progress, and it progresses kind of quickly. It's just that you have to, you know, be consistent, and then you see it even in just that little week span. But especially like looking months down the road, you're like, oh my gosh, I now have just even the coordination to do things and the balance and flexibility and strength, because it's so much more complicated than like just having the strength to lift a weight. You know, it's also like, can you keep from smacking yourself in the face with the weight? It's just so much more than that.
You know, that's so interesting too. And I think one of the other elements, and I know a lot of the Tamily does do this already, but the breakdowns, for me, that was a huge difference between doing continuity, because, you know, I get Tracy's philosophy of, you know, you just need to follow me, but it really helped me learn how to, like, I could force my way through any move because I'm strong. So I'm like, I'll kick this and do that or whatever. I wasn't really doing it right. And I was feeling like, oh man, my shoulders are really killing me or whatever. So I feel like the breakdowns have helped so much, thinking about just lifting certain parts of your body, or even, you know, all the different hand placements. At first when I started, I was like flat on my hands, and I'm like, oh my god, how do these people like not have broken wrists? You know, like get to the class and then like do it back to back. So I think there's all these little nuances that you pick up that kind of help you through that too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one thing that, you know, a lot of us, me included, don't always like watch the breakdown. And I think it's kind of, I don't know, almost fun sometimes to go into the first one like without it and just like see what you can do and really pay attention to her. But then it helps so much to like make sure, was I really doing this right? And, you know, following, like, the trainers are so amazing. I mean, just even in the way that they explain things, and you can make sure you're getting your angles right and everything. So the breakdown is definitely, you know, a feature we all should take advantage of, because that's some awesome, like, one-on-one personal training, really.
I know. Yeah, it's really good. I've done that too. I remember there was a few weeks where sometimes the new content wouldn't get posted until I'm like, I cannot stay up one more minute and wait for this. So I'm like, all right, I just got to get up in the morning and go for it. And so then I would go into the class blind and then watch the breakdown later after work. And then you learn a lot from that too, because then you've already kind of felt it in your body of like, oh, this was really hard. And then all of a sudden things can click too, which is good.
Yeah. So how do you get and stay motivated to work out regularly?
So this was a huge thing for me. I think what I used to do before was work out when my husband did, because I was like, oh, I just, we need to spend more time together. So we would try to do that at the same time. But he always works out at night. And then I was trying to like take a shower, cook dinner, and all that. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, we're not eating dinner till like almost 9 o'clock at night. And then I couldn't like wind down enough to actually get to sleep. So I really tried to think about like what's one thing that I could change that would maybe help me, and it was maybe I should try working out in the morning. And it's not easy to do, and I know people like Maura, her alarm's always set for like 4:30, and I'm like, praise you, woman, because I could not get up that early. Luckily, I have some flexibility working from home that I can like get started at like 6:30 or sometimes 7, depending on my calls. But for me, switching to the morning was just kind of life-changing because I stopped blowing it off like at the end of a busy day, which you're like such a champion for like working out after like these long days and all your travel that you have going on. But for me, it would just be an excuse to be like, maybe tomorrow, I'm too tired. So it was the one way to kind of get me more consistent. And then now I kind of crave it in the morning, so it's like a routine. I get up, I have some water, go set up all my junk in the garage, try to get some. I have started putting a lot of like essential oil diffusers in there to keep the mosquitoes away. I don't know if you have that outside too, but they would just like latch on to me and bite me forever. They're like through my leggings, and I'm like, I'm dying. It really requires focus. So that's how I stay motivated. And now that my husband like understands that I'm doing this and it's not just a weird phase, he's really supportive of it. But then the nights go smoother. Like I'm able to cook dinner while he's at the gym, and then everything's just a little bit easier. So that's what I do. And then I would say sometimes if I just don't feel like it, I'm like, you know what, I'll just do arms. And usually I'll get the arms done and it'll be like, all right, I'm going to do a little more. And I'll do a little more. So sometimes if I just say, just do a little something, I can get myself going.
Yeah, that's some advice from other people in the Tamily too, of like, just put your clothes on, just put your shoes on, just walk out there, just press play. And yeah, I find that as well. Like sometimes even when I'm live streaming, I'll say like, I'm only going to do arms, and then I'm like, actually I am going to put these weights on my ankles. Like you really just have to keep pushing through each step. So for your routine, do you also work out in the morning on the weekends and everything too, and like keep it consistent?
For the most part, on the weekends I do later morning because I'll allow myself to like enjoy some coffee or like watch some DVR garbage TV. But usually, like before lunchtime or whatever is when I'll get it done.
Very good.
But yeah, you won't catch me out there on Saturday morning at 5 unless like there's a real reason.
There's some people that are out there doing that though.
I know.
I don't know how you guys do it at all. I think in the last couple weeks I worked out at 7 in the morning twice and I almost died.
I thought it was night when I saw your 1000th workout because it was still dark out. I was like, oh man, this supposed to be like another clip, and I was like, oh my god, this is the 1000th and you're doing it in the morning. I was like, do I even know this woman?
Yeah, but it was beginners, so I was like, there's no way I can advance this early.
It takes a lot to like get your mind in the right zone for loud music and everything in the morning.
Well, but it seems like, though, a lot of the AM Tamily crew, like, once you do it, it really fits, and it makes life, like, easier. And like you're saying, you can have other time for other things. And, I know that's Tracy's advice, too. Like, just start your day with your exercise. It's just a great way to, even get your metabolism and everything going. But we'll see if I ever get there.
It's hard. Sometimes just do it when you can do it.
Yeah.
I think that's also...
Exactly. Yep, and that's another message too. Like, a lot of the time we put pressure on ourselves about which workouts to do and stuff, and like you have to let that go a little bit. Like, yeah, you need to work out where you're at, and so if you're doing INC all the time, when you really can do advanced, you should try advanced. But if you have days where it's like, I have 26 minutes to work out, do beginners or do part of multitask or whatever you have to do.
Exactly.
What advice do you have for people that are new to the method or for anyone that's feeling unmotivated?
So one of the things that I love is try to find a buddy. And I will say the community is really open. And I'll use our example. Like when I was new, I remember seeing your post and I'm like, this woman is such a badass. Her street name is Tampa Suzanne. So I was like, I wonder if she was in Tampa. And I remember I sent you a message. I'm like, do you actually live here? And if so, like, can I buy you lunch? Can we meet up? And even just, being able to connect with you. I'll never forget what you told me about, like, don't put your toe down. You were like, this is one of the main things that I learned. I like Vitality Week. So I was like, plugging that away. And now it comes in super handy.
Yeah.
And there's been a couple of other women who've just been really helpful. And I think, when most of us aren't going to the studio. I've never been to a studio or met Tracy. So it's like, I got to motivate myself to go get my butt out in the garage and go do it. And it's really helpful to know that there's other people out there. And if you can make a direct connection with one or two, I think that helps a lot. There's another Tamily member, Beth, and her and I connected kind of early on, and we even set up like calls on Monday night for like half an hour, and I'd be like, okay, what are your goals for the week? How are you going to know if you're achieving them?
That's awesome.
And we would hold each other accountable, and it was great. And now we're friends. We can text back and forth, and I do think that that's something that just helps a lot, even if you don't have somebody right with you. One of these days, I'm going to try to live with you if it's at night or something. I just want to do it because I'm like, I think that would also be really motivating too, because it's like you have basically an appointment to go do it. So if you're feeling like you're struggling, whatever you can do to try and build in a little bit of structure, I think helps a lot, and it makes it a little bit more fun.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense. What have you personally learned from Tracy?
So I feel like Tracy's like a little Yoda with all of her wisdom. And I'm sure I've like learned some things specifically from her, but what stands out the most for me is really a bit more of a reassurance, I would say, in terms of it goes with my philosophy to be your own leader. And she talks about that a lot, right? And, people ask questions, what should I eat? What should I do? Should I lose, whatever? And I get, sometimes you want reassurance, but what I love is that she is trying to empower people to make their own decisions and lead their own life, which is how I try to live all the time. So I like that she's not a leader that's trying to tell everybody what to do, because that can create a lot of dependency too. And, if she's not available to tell you what to do, then what? you have to increase your confidence in your own choices and trust your own body. Like you said, if some weeks you're just like, A, don't have enough time, or B, I just don't have enough energy, moving to another class, I think deep down we know what we should do, but sometimes we just want that reassurance. So anyway, that's one of my favorite things about her. And it's like, she's just, she's so strong. She's been through a lot. And again, I haven't known about her for as long as, a lot of you in the Tamily, but I'm like, geez, even the fact that she can focus on her, ask Tamily questions with Penny, bouncing around the room. She doesn't skip a beat. She has the most focus I have ever seen. I'm like, I aspire to that. it's amazing. So, I don't know. To me, it's really inspiring, and I love that. Lead your own life. You chart your own destiny, and it's okay to ask for feedback and advice, but make sure that you're comfortable making your own choices.
Yeah, and that you have to have an honest conversation with yourself. She says that all the time. That you need to decide what's the right workout level for you, what's the right food choices for you, but you have to do it truthfully. You really have to know yourself and, be truthful. If, people ask, should I work out if I'm sick? It's up to you. You have to feel, what does it feel like for your body? Is it possible it's going to make you actually feel better? Is it possible it's going to make you worse? Are you exhausted? You have to make the decision, but don't use it, for excuses. You really have to have that connection. And to me, that's something that comes from this workout that I have never seen come from anything else that I do. It's really building that physical and mental connection with yourself.
Yep. and ultimately that creates confidence. There's so many workout methods and people that are trying to do things similar to Tracy, but they don't know how, and I feel like they don't really have like a core competence of what they do. They're just like, oh, do this exercise, do that, or giving advice, but that can be really damaging, when you don't really know somebody else's body or their history or anything, and you're telling them, here's exactly what you should do because I said so. It's like, oh man, I don't like that.
So we talked about this one a little bit, but what do your friends and family think of the Tracy Anderson method?
Yeah, so my husband's on board now. I didn't tell him that I had created an Instagram account for a long time. He didn't even know that I was like recording my workouts, and then one day he saw me editing. He's like, "What the heck is that?" He's like, "Are you watching yourself work out?" And I'm like, "I'm just trying to see, like, did I get my legs straight or whatever?"
It's not weird, really.
I know, but at first he was like, "I don't even know what's going on with you." And when I told him I was going to go meet you, he's like, "What? You're going to go meet people like from the internet?" So now everything's more normalized for him. I was in Arizona a couple weeks ago, and I stayed with my dad, and I'm like, "Dad, I'm taking over your living room and turning it into like my tan cave." And he's like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." But he was totally fine. Like, I Amazon Prime some smaller hand weights and stuff to his house, so he just looked at me kind of weird while I was doing it, but it was fine. Most of my friends think it's a little bit nuts. When it was the Tam Newbie challenge, I mean, I sent that link to so many people, but I think it's one of those things that you have to be open to. Like, you just can't force other people, right, like, with anything, right? So I try not to be like pushy in any way. If people ask me like, "What are you doing?" I'll tell them about it. But and even like a lot of the other interviews, people have talked about kind of their journey and not really being consistent at first,
yeah,
and getting to it. So I think it is when you have to have something within you that's going to connect to make it work. I tried to even get my aunt to do it. I did get my little cousin to do it with me. I say little, she's like 21 now or whatever, so she's done a couple workouts with me, and she's just like, "This is insane." She wouldn't let me film her. She's like, "You're not putting that camera on me." But at least she was a good sport. I keep trying to get my husband to come and do something with me, and he's like, "You are insane if you think I'm going to do this with you." I was like, "Please." So I don't know, maybe one day. Candy told me, "Just keep asking." I'm like, "I'll try, but I don't know."
Yeah, I think sometimes after people have seen you do it for a long time, then they're like, "I'm kind of curious about it," but you have to try not to like impose it on people, because it has to be right for them. And I mean, like you said, so many people in the Tamily for like years, they knew about the workout, they had the DVDs. I mean, I own all of Continuity. I didn't do any of it. Like, so it has to be the right time for you, and then if it is, and if it's the right workout for you, then you become super crazy dedicated, like so many of us are. But it really goes back to one of the things that you said about the right workout for you is the one that you will do. And so, the ultimate thing is we all need to be healthy and working towards wellness, and that means working out. It doesn't have to mean the Tracy Anderson method for everyone, although it is absolutely the best workout in the entire world. But it's got to be the right time and the right thing for everyone.
Yeah, I do have some curious neighbors that will peek into my garage, and I've had a few people just come in, which actually scared me at first. It was neighbors that had moved in that I had not met yet, and I sometimes, like, if it's really hot out, I'll open my side door and, like, crack the garage door, and someone came in, and they're, like, walking around behind me, I'm doing arms, I'm like, "Oh my God, who's, like, breaking into my garage right now?" But, some of them just peek in, they're kind of curious of what's going on, but now I feel like they've kind of gotten over it. And if it's early in the morning, I won't play the music too loud, because I'm sure they're like, "What the hell is happening over here?"
Yeah, especially with those outdoor workouts. What advice from the Tamily has made a difference for you?
So the best thing about these interviews that you guys are doing, which I think is so great, is even though we're all different, I think there's little tips to pick up from everybody. So, Laura had talked about consistency and how to like plan for workouts on your vacation, which I got a lot from. In Icy's interview recently, she talked about like what made a real big difference was like going lower into the planks. And so I'm like, oh, now I'm doing that. So I feel like there's just so much, and I try to pay attention to things that people are saying, whether it's just on their feed or through the interviews, and even in the Ask Tamily questions, I get a lot of that, just from the way that people ask things or struggles that they're going through. So I feel like I just I take what works for me, and if it doesn't, I still will note it and be like, oh, that's kind of a cool idea, or maybe I can pass that along to someone else. And then I just try to engage with, hopefully not annoyingly, but like when I notice that there's new people, I try to like reach out and see if there's anything I can do to help them, or if they're having wrist issues or something, just because I've been through all that. So I'm like, I think it's great for us to share and continue to share, as we get more familiar with the method.
Absolutely. And that's the main reason for these interviews. So we really appreciate you answering all of those questions for us.
Awesome.
And now we will scroll through and see if there's any questions. I think I did see some. And of course, everybody that's watching, if you want to type in a question for Emily to answer, you can. It's a little awkward because we're sideways right now.
Yeah, I was thinking that I can't read sideways.
Yeah, so I probably look crazy. But we've got a lot of waves from everybody. Let's see. Oh, my husband was watching. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Nicole said, can we recognize how amazing 1,000 workouts is? It is, but this is not Suzanne's interview. Aggie asked, when can we ask questions? So Aggie, if you're still watching, please type in. And then someone, Aijili, I'm not sure how to say that. They ask what toe anchoring is. So I'll just explain what you and I had talked about. Especially when you're doing balance moves with Tracy. I wonder if I can move this camera and actually show.
You can do a demo.
Oh my god. Okay, so when you're doing a balance move, if you have your foot flat like this, that's how you're supposed to do it. If you put your foot up like this, you're completely changing the way that you manage your balance and what muscles you're using. So I was doing that all the time, and at a Vitality Week I asked Tracy if that makes a difference, and she said yes. And you can definitely feel it. It's much, much harder to keep your balance and to do a move with your foot flat. So if your foot's not flat, get your foot flat, ladies.
Yep. Don't cheat with your toe.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was that level of cheating, especially because, in the beginning, it's very difficult to do it even if you are using your toe to anchor yourself. And there might be times that you have to do that just to be able to even do the move at all, especially if you struggle with the balance. But that's not the way it's designed to be.
Gotta keep it hard.
So Aggie asked if you could go back to any age, just lost the question, or time of your life, what age or time would it be?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So I'm 36 now, but honestly, I feel like I am so happy with myself now that I would stay now. I think back to when I was 25 or whatever, but I wasn't mentally ready to have the knowledge that I have now or do anything. So yeah, I was younger, but honestly, I feel like I'm probably in better shape now and I could race my 25-year-old self. One of the things that I do miss, so when I was younger through high school and early college, this is when swing dancing had its big revival and was really popular, and I was super into swing dancing and I would do it competitively. So maybe I would try to go back for that. I always, I've gotten so much inspiration from Nicole and Katie and several other people in terms of the dance cardio, and I keep trying to do it, but there's something about partner dancing that is really good for me. So I'm like, oh, if I could like find my old swing dance partner, because my husband would never do that with me. But I'm like, man, then I could really get more like dance cardio in. Than I do now, trying to do more of the choreographed stuff. It's just always a little odd for me. So yeah, maybe go back to 18 and dance again.
That's awesome. Gosh, if we didn't have that question from Maggie, none of us would know you were a competitive swing dancer. We have everything in the Tamily that's possible. Let's see. Well, Katie wants to be your swing dance partner, so you guys talk about that. Aggie, thank you for that question. That was excellent. And let me see if there's any other questions from people who are watching. It's extremely difficult to scroll sideways. I hope everyone can sympathize with me on that. I don't see any other questions right now. Is there anything else that you would want to say to the Tamily while you have this audience?
Well, I would just say to keep trying. You know, if there's anything that I can do, I'm happy to help anybody. If you want to message me or if you want to connect, I love that. I mean, to me, I definitely value relationships. So maybe, like I said earlier, sometimes people may feel like I'm overly informal or friendly with them. I'm like, oh, my friend's in the Tamily, and they may be like, I don't know you. But to me, it's just it creates more intimacy, which helps people grow, and like I think that's really an accelerant. So if I can add that for anybody, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to keep posting all my crazy shenanigans and like messed up moves, and just really keep it real with people. So that's probably it.
Well, we appreciate that, and we really appreciate you participating in the 13th Ask Tamily interview. We will obviously share this interview now, so it'll be on Instagram for 24 hours, and then Nicole will perform her IT magic, and in the next few days, it'll be on YouTube for eternity.
Okay. Awesome.
Thank you very much, Emily. We'll have to get together again very soon, so I'll message you about that.
Sounds great.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye, Tamily.
Bye, Tamily.